Aloha, everybody. Thank you for joining me today for Intro to Sacred Geometry and Archangel Metatron. Big honor to do a presentation like this and to utilize something that I love and I'm so passionate about, like sacred geometry, as a teaching tool. And so a few notes as we go along in our presentation. We've got our panel of people here live today that we will all be interacting. There'll be lots of interactions during class. I've encouraged our group to go ahead and ask questions and share experiences and type into the chat so that we can all ultimately learn together. So if you're watching this presentation at a later date, welcome and thank you. All the transmissions the channelings that come through me, the activations that come through me, and we're going to do a Metatron's Cube actual activation towards the end of this. Even if you're watching this at a later date, you will absolutely be able to receive everything that goes on right live in person. And I'm going to make a little request to Kelly. Real quick, Kelly, can you turn your camera off and then back on again? And we'll see if that shifts the screen. It doesn't. Okay. Who do you guys see when you guys look in the screen? Who are you guys seeing the biggest?
You.
Oh, you are. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Because I see you. So that's okay. It kind of makes me feel like I'm talking directly to somebody, which is okay as well. Yeah. So I want to start by giving you a little bit of background to my relationship with Metatron and how he came forward into my life. And I think there's probably several of you on who feel a likeness or feel an attraction and energy to Archangel Metatron, or you wouldn't be here, because he is, of course, a presence in many, many of our lives. And Tammy's talking to me real quick. Aw, Tammy, you're such a genius. Okay, now I've got everybody. Ooh, wow, look at that. He came into my life like maybe he has some of yours in the winter of 2014. I was planning my first retreat on the island of Kauai. It was a couple of years before I moved here, and I began to feel this really benevolent but powerful active male energy enter my field and work with me. And when I would feel this energy, it was very grandfatherly. Like, to me, Metatron is a major powerhouse, but his energy is also very wise and very gentle, but very focused. So if you're looking for a guide to come in and bring you focus and, like, you know, that active male energy of like getting shit done, Metatron is your guy. So I began working with him and learning more about sacred geometry. I was kind of new to sacred geometry just even 4 or 5 years ago, but I always felt drawn to it. And he started teaching me or asking me to learn about sacred geometry, about different geometric forms and patterns and what they meant and how they exist within and around us and how they are here to support us. So I started teaching Metatron sacred geometry classes in that year and really just getting my feet wet in the magic and the mystery that is sacred geometry. And so those of you who are working actively with sacred geometry already and maybe have a base, and whether you have a base of sacred geometry right now, you know something, or whether you know nothing, it doesn't matter. We're going to take everything that you have learned thus far and just start bringing it up a little bit more. You're going to get hit with a lot of information today. Your brains are going to be real full when we're done here. And I see Judith has got her sacred geometry shirt on. Yay. Thank you to all of you who have bought and purchased my clothing. That really, really means a lot to me. And I'm going to talk a little bit more as we get going about wisdom wear and why wisdom wear came into my field and into my existence. So in the fall of that year, Archangel Metatron asked me to tattoo my back with Metatron's cube, my entire back. He said to me, I want you to put my symbol on your back, on your whole back. I'm like, really? My whole back? He's like, yep, you'll find out later. Just trust me. So I'm going to show you a picture of what my back looks like. So he asked me to put a back piece on my entire back area, and then I wove in all 4 of the elements and the 3 phases of the moon, and there's a dolphin yin yang in the middle, and then the earth at the bottom. So he asked me to actually mark my body with his symbol, and he just kept telling me, you'll find out later. Just do this. And when I did it, I do yoga. So I thought maybe I was just supposed to put something on my back so people behind me in yoga, because the shapes are all transcendental. They belong to all of us. And they belong to all of our DNA, our cells, our subconscious. And even if somebody doesn't know what they're looking at when they see your sacred geometry, it imprints them or it activates them, even if they have no idea what they're looking at. So I thought maybe he had me do this just to do that for people, just to help people receive an activation from Metatron's cube, even if they had no idea what they were looking at. And so as time went on, and we'll fast forward, I moved to Kauai a little bit over 2 years ago. And I met a man who also had Metatron's cube on his body. He was also marked Team Metatron. And he owned the Sacred Geometry Company, the clothing company that I eventually purchased from him and kind of revamped and launched out into the world as my way of bringing sacred geometry and also bringing the Andara crystals out on a worldwide scale. I really do feel, or I do know that it's part of my mission and purpose to bring sacred geometry out of esotericism, okay, out of secrecy, where it's been for most of most of the eons of time, and return it to everybody. Like, everybody plays, everybody wins. Everybody gets to access sacred geometry in their lives because it belongs to all of us. Okay, it is part of, it's actually part of our DNA. It's part of our soul history. It's part of our cosmic history. And so to bring sacred geometry out through courses and through clothing and just through living, breathing, eating, shitting sacred geometry like I do, it is part of my mission and purpose for this planet. So thank you again for being a part of something that I really know will in time bring a massive, massive awakening to the entire planet, because sacred geometry is the gateway out of the matrix. And I'll talk to you a little bit more as we go along. Anybody have anything you want to add or ask before I start the presentation? Any questions? Okay. Off we go. Okay, so we will start with, who is Archangel Metatron? Is there anybody on board here today who really is relatively brand new to Metatron and who he is? Tammy is. Okay, good. So you're gonna get you're gonna get a boatload of information on my BFF. Archangel Metatron is like our older brother. He is our role model of who we may strive to become. Metatron once lived a physical life as Enoch. Enoch was a scribe in the Old Testament who led a faultless life on earth and ascended straight to heaven to continue his job at God's right hand. So he is known as a man who is so righteous that he went straight to heaven and became an archangel. He is kind of like the grandfather or the godfather of all the archangels. He's described as an angel who is bright enough to look God straight in the eye without combusting. So knowing that he is kind of like the example of where we all are going and who we are becoming, one day we too will be able to stand before God, right? Stand in that presence without combusting. So Metatron is the holder of the Akashic records. So those of you who access the Akashic records for yourselves or for other people, you may have met him in the hallways of the Akashic. He is the record keeper for all. Remembering he was a scribe in the Old Testament, and Metatron also has an association with the Egyptian god Thoth, with Tehote, he's also called. And Tehote was a scribe. He scribed the emerald tablets. Metatron was the angel who led the Israelites out of Egypt and into safety. He has been described as huge enough to bridge heaven and earth, and often described as the angel of God's presence. Metatron is beyond angelic, even beyond angelic. The prefix meta means expand a concept or transcend the physical, as in a metamorphosis. We move beyond the limits of one form. Metatron is one of two archangels whose names don't end in EL. So you guys, most of you are familiar with Raphael, Michael, Ariel, right? They all end in EL, which means of God. Metatron and Sandalphon is Metatron's twin brother, were both human prophets who lived such pious lives that they were rewarded with ascension into angelic realm. So there you go. There's ascension goals right there. Archangel Metatron has been described as huge, enough to bridge heaven and earth, often described as the angel of God's presence. Metatron is the bridge. He and his twin brother Sandalphon are the Alpha and the Omega, the holders of the beginning and the end that allow humanity to access the divinity as expressed through the pantheon of archangels in the cube. And once we get to going deeper into Metatron's cube, you will get to see how all the major archangels have a space in Metatron's cube. How we doing so far? Tron means instrument or device. He provides us with divine tools of light which enable us to surpass ourselves. Sometimes people get Metatron confused with Megatron, who is a transformer. Metatron is the archangel of children. If you have a child in crisis, you want to call on Metatron to help you. And not ironically, Megatron being, a children's action figure, I guess. Kids are really drawn to Megatron. Megatron is kind of just Metatron in another form. He provides the potential for us to step into a different reality, one of love and abundance and the expression of joy and creativity. He's the ruler of the tree of life, the map of consciousness, and he guides us on our return to journey to wholeness or paradise. Metatron, a real, tangible, and very loving presence, and is felt dramatically when you work with his energy. How many of you here, and you can unmute yourself if you want to, let me know, are actively working with him or feel like you do?
Really?
Yeah, Dave does. Anybody else feel like he's already a presence in your life? So if not so far, you will probably find today, if you choose to work more actively with him, that he will feel much closer to you, and that you can call upon him for whatever it is you're creating, manifesting, and clearing in your life, and call him on his geometry. There was a time when, not even very many years ago, when Metatron was not a really talked about archangel. Nobody really knew who he was or could access his energies. We talked about Michael and Raphael and Gabriel and Ariel and Haniel and some of the other archangels, but Metatron was kind of like a mystery. So if you're a person who has been working with the archangel realms for a while, you might know what I'm talking about. That Metatron was kind of one of those guys that you heard the name, but you didn't really know who he was or what to do with him. Anybody have that experience in their journey?
Yeah, I noticed on the internet, they, like, if you type it in, it real quickly says, like, there's real no need to, like, believe it, like, his name or, like, that ever really existed in the Hebrew text. And it seems they really don't like to, like, incorporate it into, like, modern, like, religious text or really anything. They just want to kind of just, like, throw it out.
Yeah.
And I never learned about it in Christianity, actually, at all.
Well, you would learn about Enoch if you learned about the Old Testament, but they never talk about Metatron.
Bible, though. Enoch was never in the Bible.
Wasn't he in the Old Testament? In one of the he wasn't in the Bible. You're right. He was in the book of Enoch.
Yeah, but that's taken out of the Bible. So
yeah.
Well,
yeah.
That's exactly why they tried to, like, yeah. There's a big thing behind it, but
right. It was kind of like they tried to expunge him from existence.
Exactly. Yeah. As much as they could, basically.
As much as they could, right? And I really feel the reason why is because he really is so powerful, and he really is so transformative. And the other reason I feel that has been true is up until recently, the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever, we really weren't ready to access him. Like, humanity was really not ready for the potency and the power and the potential that he is able to release and allow all of us to access. We weren't quite there yet, but we're there now. And so it's only been, I think, maybe over the last 5, 6, 7 years that, channelers and people who do healing work have really been able to not only tap into him, but to bring his messages forward. It's kind of like he is the next step in human evolution and ascension, and we had to get ready for that. Like, we had to raise up to that level because that frequency, his frequency, wasn't going to really come to us until we were ready to absorb it. So to call on Metatron into your energy field, envision the crown of your head spinning like a vortex of living presence. Call the movement down into your body, into the earth. And we're going to go actually through an activation where I will teach you or help you to access more fully everything that he is, to embody everything that he is. And as powerful as Metatron is, also know that he is very gentle and wise, and his frequency will meet you where you're at. And wherever you're at is perfect. He will meet you where you are at, and then just ask you over time an integration, because there's an integration period with him, when you would like more. I think I skipped a page, hang on. He provides the potential for us to step into a different reality, one of love and abundance, and the expression of joy and creativity. Metatron is a real, tangible, and very loving presence, and is felt dramatically when you work with his energies. Metatron is all about business. So Dave, you probably know from accessing him that when you begin to tap into the Metatronic field, you better be ready to go to work. You better be ready to receive and take action.
Yeah, basically they're just like heavy downloads I get, and it's so many different aspects that it's like I can't just put into word, but it's so much basically.
Yeah.
Definitely. So it's very intense.
Well, and you are a person who is able to receive a lot of really intense experiences really fast, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, definitely.
And so for those of you who prefer a gentler experience, he will show up for you that way and meet you where you are at, like I said. I get a very loving, grandfatherly presence when I am with him. I always feel very protected. I always feel very cared for. Metatron is my main soul guide. He is the main guide right now, helping me to execute my mission on this planet. We have that agreement together, and we've had an agreement together, Metatron and I, since Atlantis. And if you guys are curious about Metatron and his association with Atlantis, how that is, I can share that with you too. It's not necessarily in the curriculum or the presentation, but it is kind of fun to learn this extra stuff. As we receive more of the light that Metatron offers us, we allow more of the deepest good of the cosmos. And I mean, that's why we're here, gang. We're here for the deepest good of the cosmos, right? We're here for joy. We're here to be and act as creators. And I love that term, like just to allow us to receive more of the deepest good of the cosmos. Your dreams, your soul dreams. So what is Metatron's cube? Metatron's cube is the ultimate physical expression of sacred geometry, consisting of 13 circles and the intersecting lines that connect the center of those. These lines create hexagons, hexagrams, triangles, and rectangles nested inside of one another. The result is a complex patterns inside of patterns that bridge the building blocks of creation to our physical reality. So that's kind of the technical side of what Metatron's cube is. And if anybody here just sat up and like stared at it, just put it up on your wall or on the computer and just stared at it for a little while? Well, if you haven't, I really recommend that. Because all the platonic solids, and we'll go through the platonic solids here pretty soon, which are the 5 building blocks of our physical reality, because all sacred geometry is inside of Metatron's cube. When you just glance at it, it kind of just looks like a hot mess. A pretty hot mess. When you set it up on a wall or in front of you and you meditate on it, you will begin to see the different shapes and patterns emerge. Staring at Metatron's cube or any sacred geometry, you can do this flower of life, seed of life, anything you like, is a form of meditation, and you will see different shapes emerging from that one configuration. You'll actually be able to learn to pull out the dodecahedron and the icosahedron and see that come forward and back like 3D for a little bit. Sacred geometry actually harmonizes the left and right hemispheres of your brain. Did you guys know that? So if you spend some time with sacred geometry as often as you can and meditate on it, I mean, even if you have one of my shirts, put it up on the wall and stare at it. Or your partner wear one and you wear one and you stare at each other. You know, and just like, because that soul to soul energy that you project out through, you know, through your heart space, through the geometry to another person really does affect them. So think of some creative ways, if you can, to bring it into your life, into your sphere, and spend a little bit of time and attention on, you know, on sacred geometry. So Metatron holds and ministers the sacred geometry patterns of the universe known as the Metatronic cube. The position at the top of the tree of life is held by Metatron. He's attributed with being involved in divine creation, passing the divine blueprint for creation at all levels down to the angels beneath him to put into place. And we're going to see a diagram of that in a little bit. Metatron's cube is a three-dimensional structure composed of all the shapes of the universe he places. The structure around anything to be created, forming the blueprint of its construction. So Metatron places this configuration because it holds all the shapes and patterns that create our physical reality. This is what Metatron places around everything he creates for God. It's important for you to know that this is not a two-dimensional figure. It's not a two-dimensional configuration. It's multi-dimensional. Three-dimensional and multi-dimensional. It shows up on your paper, and, you know, in art like this is two-dimensional, but that's not really what it is. It is multi-dimensional, just like we are. And that's just one of my favorite versions of Metatron's cube. Metatron's cube is very Atlantean. This photo is very Atlantean. Metatron was the predominant architect of Atlantis. It was he who came with his geometry and his team of master builders and created the shapes and the structures and the temples and the gardens. Everything in Atlantis was created through sacred geometry, on the principles of sacred geometry. Sacred geometry, because remember, water holds memory, right? We all know that? That water holds memory? So there is actually geometries in water. Geometry comes from icosahedron, from water. So if you guys have ever taken your water bottle and maybe put a sacred geometry sticker on it, you see maybe seen people do that, or maybe place sacred geometry underneath your water bottle to imprint it, you actually activate the geometries that are in the water molecules just through your intention and just through placing like literal pictures of sacred geometry onto your water. Okay, you'll activate it. Sacred geometry activates and raises the vibration of everything that it comes in contact with, because everything is sacred geometry. So you think about how powerful we are in our intentions, right? If you want to take your water bottle, your food, whatever you like, your pet, and envision or place some sacred geometry into them, you're going to amplify that. You know, you're going to bring in the coding of sacred geometry into your physical world, like out of the etheric through you. Because remember, we are like Metatron. on a microcosmic scale, we're creators. We create through our thought, and we create through our emotion, and we create through our intentions. So, you know, we all have thoughts, lots of thoughts that go through our head every single day. Some of those thoughts, we're just thinking them and they just kind of go off into the ethers. The thoughts that we think with an emotional charge behind them over and over and over again, those are the ones that manifest and show up in our lives somehow, some way. So it's really the emotional charge behind your thoughts that creates. So the stronger the emotion, the stronger the intention, the more efficiently we become creators and manifestors. So you take something like sacred geometry, you take our thoughts, you take our intentions, and you imbue that with the energy of the heart. Those are the keys to manifesting and creating. It really is all about using shapes and patterns, using our intentions, and using the magic that exists within and around us, the magic of the archangels, to create our dreams. Anybody have any thoughts around that statement? Anything to add?
That's why it's bad to indulge in fear.
Yeah.
That's why the media wants us to be in fear too, because they, you know, it just makes a whole lot of sense why they want like that energy. Whole living off of fear is like an inversion of Metatron's cube. Basically, we're basically all living in an inversion of Metatron's cube. Kind of the satanic symbol is an inversion.
Yeah, you know, we're gonna talk about that, Dave. We're gonna talk about the inversions of geometry, and that's a great point. There's two energies. There's only two: love and fear.
Yeah. So.
If it's fear, then it's an inversion of love. When we work through the energy of love and trust and the power that exists within us to create our reality, like those are the keys to the kingdom. And we're going to get into a little bit more of the, we're just going to touch on some of the satanic stuff and the Freemason stuff and some of the things that are around, just so you have the information, just so you kind of get the whole package of what you're working with when you go into sacred geometry and how you can transcend yourself and your beliefs. So Enoch had a human incarnation as the prophet. Metatron means one who occupies the throne next to the throne of the divine. He's a heavenly scribe recording every action and oversees the Akashic and Karmic records. Described as the king of all angels or supreme angel, he governs the Kether at the top of the Kabbalistic tree of life and holds the Metatronic cube and holds the blueprint of all creation. And these are just some different depictions, artist depictions of what Metatron might look like or how Metatron might show up or feel for you. I really like this kind of young, hot version of him in the middle, driving the chariot forward with his massive angel wings and the yin-yang unicorns with the Metatron's cube on the chariot. And so, you know, however you see or feel or sense him will be how he specifically shows up in your field. So what is sacred geometry? It's the art of ascribing symbolic and sacred meanings to certain geometric shapes and proportions in the construction and planning of churches, temples, mosques, art, sacred groves, and other holy places. Certain numbers held symbolic meaning to the ancient world, aside from their ordinary use for counting and calculating. So the belief that God created the universe according to a geometric plan is very ancient. And you guys, everything is numbers. Everything comes down to mathematics, proportions and ratios. It's how everything is formed. And were you guys all aware that all the ancient mosques and sacred sites and churches, they're all built off principles of sacred geometry?
Yeah, you can tell that's why they all look, the architecture is all there.
Like from the beginning of time.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
From the beginning of time. Likely information that came down with extraterrestrials when these different civilizations were started. And as the extraterrestrials incarnated into humanoid forms or came down and helped the humanoid form beings to plan their sacred structures, sacred geometry came with it. Because the ancients knew that there was an energy that was held within certain mathematical proportions. And everything is energy. So the study of sacred geometry and mathematical proportions has its root in the study of nature. Many of the forms observed in nature can be regulated to geometry, such as hexagonal cells of a honeycomb, or a chambered nautilus or a snowflake. So sacred geometry is all found in nature. Like everywhere you look is some form of sacred geometry, everything you look at in nature. And so numbers fit into all of this. I have a plumeria tattooed on my wrist, which is my favorite flower. And the geometry is 5 points. So what do fives represent? Who knows? Change. Were you going to say that, Dave?
Yeah, I was gonna say like completes the set. Mostly 5 is like a completion too. But
I wasn't aware of that.
oh no, I recently read that. Yeah.
Okay, so 5, like the traditional meaning, is change. So if you guys are saying, 5, 5, 5, 55s, number 5's a lot in your life, that means you've got big change coming. It doesn't necessarily mean bad change. Some people want to go, oh no, change. Change is bad or good, just depending on perspective. When I got this tattoo several years ago, I got it after my first trip to Maui when I was leaving my husband and had to raise my kids, be 24/7 mom, and take care of my kids on my own. So 5 was the change. And then I did the red and the yellow and the oranges for foundation because our foundation was changing. Then added the green leaves in there for heart. So when you have a certain theme or a challenge or a circumstance or something happening in your life, using numbers and geometry to amplify that energy or to acknowledge that energy can be very powerful. And I think that's probably why most people get tattoos, because they're demarking something significant in their life. When we harness the energy of shapes and numbers, whether we tattoo them on our body or not, just utilizing them in general because of the law of attraction, that brings that energy into our field. And we can utilize that for whatever it is we're working through. Does that make sense? Sacred geometry charts the unfolding of numbers in space. It differs from the mundane geometry purely in the same sense that the moves and concepts involved are regarded as having symbolic value, and thus, like good music, facilitates the evolution of the soul. So what if we had all learned sacred geometry in high school instead of like regular geometry? How much more fun would that have been?
Yeah.
Do you think you all would have aced it and been interested? So instead, we get to learn about sacred geometry as adults. Instead of when we're in school, you know, when our brains are forming and we're learning about our personal power and how we create, you know, think about a world where kids were taught this all through school and taught how to utilize math and numbers for something that would really help them in their lives instead of something that they would learn and forget the minute they got out of high school. And you all know music is a form of geometry too, right? Music is another form of math. Yeah. The notes. Who plays an instrument here? Maria does. What do you play, Maria?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, you could. I piano, cello, did the drums when I was in high school. I mean,
Oh my goodness.
ton.
So you know that when you're taught about music, when you learn to read music, half notes, quarter notes, whole notes, and I play ukulele, and so everything is divided up into mathematical proportions because a different sound is made on the strings depending on where you touch. Everything comes back to math and geometry. So when I decided to learn ukulele, I've been taking lessons for about a year. I did it because I knew it was going to be geometry in another form, in a right brain form. This is still kind of like looking at all this is still kind of like left brain, left and right brain, but a lot of left brain material. When you start learning a musical instrument, you bring geometry into your field and you activate your right brain in a totally different way. You don't even have to know what it's called or what you're doing to have it work. I think for most people, they play an instrument and they don't exactly know what's happening. They just know those neural nets are changing. And then music will actually change your brain. This is why people, I mean, we know this is why people are so drawn to listen to music. Once you start making music, it takes that to a whole nother level.
And
Kelly,
then-
were you going to say something?
Yeah. I recently have been doing I've done some training with sound healing.
Yes.
And I did the crystal bowl training and then tuning forks. And,
Yes.
you know, each different bowl is a different musical note.
Right.
And, you know, the tuning forks, like all of them, each one is a different frequency and the numbers. And in one of the training, in the tuning fork training I did, he gave us a whole bunch of printouts of the different measurements, like through like sacred geometry and stuff like that, and how it correlates to everything. And he was going back and forth between the two different ones that people kind of go back and forth with, who believes what and this and that, like the golden ratio and then one other thing. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It all fits together. And for you, you probably had the same experience that I did, that you're learning it, but it's really like remembering.
Yeah, for sure. And it definitely, I feel like ever since that, like you're saying, it brings it more into your life.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm noticing numbers more. I'm noticing patterns more.
Right.
Like I really feel like, you know, I play often just to myself. And just doing that on a regular basis, I think is like setting up the energy to bring more of it into my life. And it's super cool.
We're naturally wired for this. Like that in ancient times, I mean, music, sound, music, frequency, vibrations, tuning, toning, you know, if you're a singer, if you like to use your voice, I mean, that has been with us since the dawn of time as well.
Super cool.
Yeah. Facilitates the evolution of the soul. I love that term. That's what I feel like is happening for me. the deeper down the rabbit hole I go. And sacred geometry, as you're going to see, is a pretty deep rabbit hole. You could go on and on and on and on with it and probably never really stop learning. So we're going to talk about some different shapes and patterns known as sacred geometry. We're going to talk about how geometry has been used for benevolent purposes and also for malevolent purposes throughout our history and throughout the existence of our souls as well. And probably one of the best, most controversial and known forms of sacred geometry is pentagram. Known as in occult circles as a symbol of magic, the pentagram is a 5-pointed star that is formed by drawing a continuous line and 5 straight line segments using a mystical and a religious symbol. The pentagram was used in ancient Chinese and Japanese religions to symbolize the 5 elements of life. In Japanese culture, the symbol was also considered magical. Ancient Babylon culture was also using the pentagram to represent various gods and beliefs of their own. So as a Christian symbol, the basic pentagram was originally used to represent the 5 wounds of Jesus Christ. It was soon supplanted by the symbol of a cross, but the pentagram was still recognizable as a Christian symbol for a few hundred years after Jesus' resurrection. So in Wicca and white magic, the encircled upright pentagram is considered a symbol that provides protection of some kind. Pagan and neo-pagan groups use the pentagram in all manner of rituals and ornamentation because it symbolizes infinity, the binding of the 5 elements, and the protection of self. Did you guys know that the original symbol for the Olympics was going to be the pentagram? Originally, it was going to be the pentagram. And it was changed because the 5 circles were felt to be more unifying, I guess, more symbols of unity. But I found that really interesting when I learned that. An inverted pentagram displays the star upside down with 1 point facing down and 2 facing up. So here's just some examples of pentagrams in nature. And some pentagrams and sacred geometry and corporate logos. So are you aware that corporations use and utilize sacred geometry and how in their logos and in how they market to us? Is anybody that brand new information for them? Yeah. So these are some of the most common sacred geometry symbols that are out there. This Arco symbol, it looks like you're looking at a pyramid looking down. So go into it 3-dimensionally and think about the missing capstone of the Illuminati, if you know that language. And here's a few of the other symbols that are really common that utilize sacred geometry. And why do corporations utilize sacred geometry? They know how powerful it is. They know that there is an energetic imprint in that logo and that they can utilize that energy and amplify it out to us into the universe for whatever they like. So if corporations and people of great wealth are able to access and utilize sacred geometry in their creations, why can't we, right? Dave, I feel like you have something you want to add to that, because I know you know a lot about this.
No, yes, I do. Yes, but no, you're saying everything just yes.
Yeah, I just know you're really knowledgeable. So if you have anything you want to,
it just the symbols are just it just is such like a root, because that's like such a like symbols is such like a basic to like our like we how could I even say that in a way like the symbols, like we download the symbols basically. So when we look at it, that's like the first thing we look at, and it's very subconscious basically. But
yeah,
very big trick basically. It works. basically.
So how many of you for your business have a logo? A logo is basically a symbol, right? So for those of you who have created logos or thinking about making a logo for your business, why do you choose that symbology? You might know consciously. You might know exactly what you need and why. For some of us, it's unconscious. We're just drawn to them for some reason. But even the unconscious, I don't really know why I'm choosing this shape or symbol, but I really like it, I'm attracted to it, our subconscious knows. So if you were going to create, now kind of getting this information, if you were going to create or recreate a logo for yourself, you might want to really put some thought or some prayer work into what shapes and symbols you want to choose specifically. What feel really good and really strong for you, and what represents your brand or whatever you're putting out there to the world. Any other thoughts on that? If any of you want a really good sacred geometry logo maker, logo designer, let me know. I know a couple people who are really, really good. Matter of fact, if any of you need any kind of professional services from, web design to marketing to branding and logos, I know people who work within sacred geometry really beautifully and intentionally and specifically, and can co-create something for you and with you that really feels like it's a part of you. So in the mid-1800s, researchers of magic declared an inverted pentagram as a symbol of evil because it represented an inversion of the natural order, placing matter over the spirit world. Since then, the inverted pentagram has had associations with black magic and occultism. The Church of Satan uses the inverted pentagram as a part of its logo, adding a goat's head and framed by the star. And of course, there's nothing wrong with a star. The pentagram itself contains no inherent power. It has been used in many ways by different cultures, including Christianity. It's not something that should be feared in and of itself, although we should be aware of what other people are communicating through it. Okay, so you get the difference? The shapes and symbols themselves don't hold the power. It's what's communicated through them. It's through their intention. So you can take something like a star, a 5-pointed star, and utilize it for magical properties, for change. Or you can do as some occultists do and invert it. And anytime you invert a symbol, you create the opposite. You create the opposite effect. So sometimes people see a pentagram and they'll automatically assume it's a symbol of evil. It's not. It's been inverted to take on a different meaning, and that meaning is projected through it, through other societies or through other groups. So some of you who've been with me for a while might know this. I have a YouTube video, a new moon YouTube video, where I help people to create through a 5-pointed star on the new moon. And so I have a simple video that just helps people to draw a pentagram, a 5-pointed star, and then color or write in all the things you're trying to manifest through it, add the directions to it, and some candles and some prayer work for creating and manifesting. And I started using new moon plates, and you'll see it's round like the moon or like the new moon. And I started utilizing the new moon because that's when we create, and utilizing magic because I saw how much allowing symbols and working through magic belongs to all of us. And magic is just really about focused intention. It's about big dreams. It's about imagining. It's about creating through our thoughts or emotions to bring matter to the physical. Spirit to matter. And anytime we do anything creative, anytime we make art or do something, draw, write, color our depictions on as something physical, it amplifies our intentions. So if you guys are interested in working in through new moon rituals, I've got that video on my YouTube channel. And I have landed many, many creations through my new moon plates, simply through the power that belongs to all of us to allow the energy of the moon cycles and my dreams and my connection to the cosmos and your connection to the cosmos, right? To bring my dreams and visions down into physical form. Geometry, coupled with our creativity and our divine connection to the universe, is all we need. That's all we need. And maybe a little belief doesn't hurt either, right? Little belief in ourselves and belief in our power. So as I have continued to work with Archangel Metatron, sacred geometry, and really all the archangels, because they all represent something different, it has allowed me to become a more conscious creator. So we all create unconsciously. Sometimes we create stuff we really don't want. Because again, our thoughts or emotions are always, we're big giant antennas, we're big giant sending and receiving antennas. And whatever we are broadcasting out as our predominant thought and feeling is ultimately going to show up in our field as something. So knowing that we create oftentimes really unconsciously, when we start to go into conscious creation and learning how to consciously create, we therefore would follow that we would create manifestations in our field of more of what we want and more of what makes us happy. So, you know, and a lot of people think that we have to like monitor every thought or like be aware of everything that goes on in our brain. Well, we really can't do that because the mind just goes and goes and goes. However, when you catch yourself and maybe a thought process, or you know how sometimes you might just catch yourself just like life, projecting out all the BS and all the things that are happening in your life. Sometimes we have to get energy out before energy can come in. So if you have days where you feel bad, or are feeling in a low vibration, or you're just thinking punky thoughts, not good thoughts, you don't need to be hard on yourself and decide that your whole, like, you're just going to get on a train and the train's just going to crash into the wall because of what you're thinking. Sometimes we just have to go, okay, I'm having a crappy day. I have all this stuff in my mind and I just need to put it out there in the universe and allow it to be transmuted, right? So when I'm having a particularly punky day and I know I'm overwhelmed by emotions and by my thoughts and they're not happy ones, I call in my team. I call in my angels and I say, I am just going to blast off all this stuff out of here. I realize it's an illusion. I realize, you know, what I'm doing. I'm just going to ask you to help pull it out of me and transmute it. Energy out before energy in. Okay, so again, this is conscious creation. We're human. We're going to have crappy days. We're going to have crappy thoughts. That's part of being human. So as you go through your very human process of thinking and feeling and moving through all the dynamics life has to offer, you guys, please don't forget you have a team. Even when we feel like we're alone and we're banging our fists on the table, demanding answers and demanding help and demanding to be let out of our pain and suffering, and even when it feels like we are really, really alone, please know that you're not. That you do have a team that you can call forward. They're always here. You know, our angels are always here to help us. They're always available to us. We have free will. So because we have free will, they can kind of only help us to an extent unless we ask them. Ask them. That's what they're for. They don't have somebody else more important. They don't have something else more important. When you call them to ask them to do anything you need, even if you think it's the silliest thing in the world, that's what they want to do. They want jobs. We need to stop thinking of our angels and our guides as outside of us. Most of our angels and guides are us in another multidimensional form. There are other aspects of us in different realms that we've made agreements with to come into this life, and we literally have ourself helping ourself from another dimension. So these other versions of you, which oftentimes they are, other versions of soul family, of your monad or your experience, are available to you, to us, at any time for anything, and they are part of us. You know, it is said that we're in awe of the angels. They're in awe of us. They are in awe of us for coming here and doing this thing called life. You know, and I believe that as hard as it can be, there really is no greater gift and blessing, you know, than to be able to have the five senses and hug your child or your loved one and smell flowers and eat delicious food, drink delicious wine, and look upon the beauty. That's something they don't get to do. They can only revel in it through us. And we have these amazing things called emotions. Angels are neutral, by the way. They're neutral. They don't get mad at us. They don't try and punish us. I think they feel what we feel. They feel our joy. They feel our pain. But they themselves are neutral and just here to be accessible to us, to aid us for whatever we need. Angel messages come in all kinds of different forms. Sometimes we hear them. Sometimes we feel them. Sometimes we smell them. Sometimes they speak through an animal, right? So just being aware that all of these amazing entities and energies that are around us, that they really are a part of our light and our dark, of our everything, and utilizing them, it is a game changer. If you are focusing on the dark element of God and life, you're going to vibrate more of that to you. There is a lot of stuff out there in the metaphysical and the spiritual world, in the media, that draw us off our happy place and draw us into fear or draw us into miscreations through fear and disharmony. Right? So a lot of those distractions. So having this information about how symbols and energy can be inverted or used inverted or used in the way they were formed, take all this as information. All you're getting today is information. What you decide to do with it, how you decide to utilize it in your life is completely up to you. You have that free will. Anybody have anything to add to that little tangent? Everybody doing good? Okay, we're going to start going into the Vesica Pisces, into sacred geometry.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right, honey. Do you have something to say?
Oh no, it was weird. Like all that, my TVs and internet just like it was like weird, and everything just shut off real quick. So
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. So, anybody not heard the term Vesica Pisces before?
Never, and I actually never heard of it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the original geometry is the most simple basic geometry is the sphere. like that wholeness, that egg of life, right? The Vesica Pisces is the beginning of creation. It is when the one begins to split into two and forms a third. So this symbol most people have seen, yeah? You guys have seen that around. It has many, many meanings. You'll see it in, maybe weddings, or when people get married, because it is like the two rings coming together to the two wedding rings. It is the shape that is the intersection of two discs with the same radius intersecting in such a way that the center disc lies on the perimeter of the other. The name literally means in Latin, bladder of a fish. So the Vesica Pisces has many, many meanings. It has many ways you could describe it. It's the two becoming a third, or bringing in a third. And the third is the spirit that moves in the middle. When original souls were birthed, when souls were originally birthed, they were birthed out of the Vesica Pisces. One was the masculine and one was the feminine side. And the middle was the spirit that moved between them. So the original 144,000 souls that seeded the universe came from the Vesica Pisces. And all other souls came from those 144,000. So in another class sometime, I might go into soul monads and the groups of 12s and things, because that's kind of a whole separate webinar on itself. But for now, just know this is how original creation and original souls were birthed. This is often called the yoni of the universe, that center point. It's a trinity. It's Mother, Father, Baby. It is Mother, Father, God, and the Holy Spirit. Anything that you can think of that would be in a trinity can be symbolized by the Vesica Pisces. I wear the Vesica Pisces around my neck for a couple of reasons. One of the biggest reasons that I wear it is because I am impending the meeting of my beloved. And so for me to wear the Vesica Pisces and the Trinity, the masculine and feminine energies and the spirit moves between them, is kind of like my call to my beloved of like, here I am, come find me. Because that's the symbol right now that I am predominantly working with in order to call him forward. So if you are working through or with something in your life, creating something in your life, there are many different forms of sacred geometry that can help bring that imprint or activate that vibration of that manifestation forward. So virtually every medieval church in Europe uses a standard Vesica Pisces in 2 dimensions. Many of these churches were dedicated to the Virgin Mary or to the Mary Magdalene. This is also a symbol of goddess, of the Marys. Several of the churches in northern France are even located in such a manner that their points of light recreate lights in the constellation of Virgo, because that's the water bearer and the Virgin. She's symbolic of Mary, of that purity. Several churches, here we go. In Glastonbury, England, the site normally attributed to Avalon, which is the island of the goddess, is also where the Chapel of St. Mary is located, the latter which is apparently patterned with the use of the Vesica Pisces. So there's the Chalice Well in Glastonbury. Has anybody ever visited there by chance? You have? Yeah, so you've seen that, Judith. That's pretty neat. That's actually where my pendant, it's a depiction of that. So the goddess of any and all religions which recognize her power and significance are invariably used to the Vesica Pisces. And again, that's because of that third. That's because of that yoni in the middle. It's the symbol of the universe where all life comes through. Just like a woman, all life comes through. From the overlapping pools of water of the chalice well cover in the goddess's garden Glastonbury to any number of representations of the tree of life, the goddess and her ability to create and recreate birth and life are celebrated. The Supreme Being was represented by a sphere, the symbol of a being with no beginning and no end, continually existing, perfectly formed and profoundly symmetrical. The addition of a second sphere represented the expansion of unity and duality of male, female, god and goddess. By overlapping the two spheres, God and Goddess created a divine offspring. The Vesica Pisces motif and its derivatives, the Flower of Life, Tree of Life, and the fundamentals of geometry, has a history of thousands of years and easily predates virtually all major religions of the current era, which simply means that all the major religions adopted sacred geometry into their theology because that existed first. And they all put a little twist or variation of what that geometry meant to them or meant to their religion. Does that make sense? How are we doing? Everybody good? If I need to back up and explain anything else or re-explain, you guys just feel free to holler. I want to make sure it's all coming in through crystal clear. I know it's a lot. So the joining of the God and Goddess to create an offspring, the third. It's a symbol for Jesus Christ. In art, a pointed oval uses an areola in medieval scriptures and paintings. The vagina of a female goddess, it's the basic motif in the Flower of Life and the overlay of the Tree of Life. The formative power of polygons and a geometrical description of square roots and harmonic proportions and or a source of immense power and energy. So if you really want to amplify something very simply and easily through the Vesica Pisces, through that yoni, because remember, it's just three simple shapes. Two perfect spheres and the spirit that runs between them. The creator of life. And here's some Vesica Pisces descriptions they're in our history crop circles, the chalice well. And just a few more corporate logos. It's so interesting to me that MasterCard, CBS, TWA use the Vesica Pisces. So it kind of makes you wonder or think about what they're projecting through that. You know, what was their intention to have that shape and project through there? Anybody have any ideas? Like, does something like maybe kind of jump out and speak to you? How about that big giant eye looking at you? Kind of big brotherish. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Tree of Life. Anybody here not heard of the Tree of Life before? Is it anybody where it's brand new to you? The Tree of Life is a extremely complex form of geometry. I'm just going to touch on it a little bit here because it is a form of sacred geometry for sure. It could be its total other webinar. When you start really studying the tree of life, it's a rabbit hole that just kind of goes on forever. So I'll give you a little bit of basic knowledge and teach you how the tree of life ties into Metatron's cube. And you guys, in about maybe 10 minutes or so, I'm going to give you like a short break. So if you just need to get up and stretch or use the restroom and give yourself a mental break about halfway through, then we'll do that. So just bear with me. So what is the tree of life? In the Kabbalistic esoteric studies of the tree of life, it contains 10 spheres. And I'm not even going to try and pronounce all these Hebrew names for you because I'll massacre them. But it's considered to be an archetypal idea that emanations from the divine. The tree of life is considered to be the blueprint of all human beings and a reflection of what happens inside oneself. And if any of you are super fluent or even fairly fluent in the tree of life, by all means, jump in and talk to us. It's considered to be substantial principles of power vessels or ideas in which the consciousness of the universe expresses itself. They are strongly defined by numbers and placed on the tree of life. They are like vessels or channels in which and through the divine powers can manifest themselves in their creative evolution. They are like receptacles or spheres of light that hold particular energy streaming down from divine source. They are a medium between the divine and the physical world as we know it. And Metatron is considered to be in charge of all these worlds. So all the worlds within worlds that are contained within the tree of life is part of what Metatron oversees. So here is what the tree of life would look like inside of Metatron's cube and inside of the flower of life, which is actually inside Metatron's cube as well. So you can see like the overlay that happens from the tree of life. Guys, have any questions on the tree of life? I'll answer what I can. It's a very complex and beautiful Jewish symbol of how they explain life, creation, humanity, and God. So before we go into the Archangel connection, everybody feel like maybe you need a quick break? Yeah, let's go like 5-7 minutes, and then we'll meet back here.
I love all the animal noises on your end, Ameera. Mother of God.
Welcome back. Trying to get my presentation back up. Come on now. Sorry, guys, trying to get this presentation to pop back up. And it won't open. What are you laughing at?
Judith's bird.
Oh,
My brother has a blue and gold macaw. Thank you.
Paws are amazing, aren't they?
What's his name?
Littlefoot.
Littlefoot.
Oh,
My brother's bird's name is Hans.
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Littlefoot had a little foot in her last incarnation. There were no toes on it.
Mm.
A little foot she balanced on.
Hi, kitty. What's his name, Kelly?
This is Biggie, everyone.
Hi, Maggie.
I feel like Dr. Evil, like I've been petting him this whole time.
Literally the whole first hour, Alice was laid out right between me and the computer, right underneath the vision of you guys. You'd have, see her ears pop up occasionally. I'm surrounded right now, though, but you just can't see them all. Luna, I don't have here. Have some cheese. I'm eating a snack, so they're all.
so I'm having a slight technical issue where my PDF won't pop open for me.
Is it your computer or is it Zoom?
It's my computer. It's not Zoom. Like it won't open on my desktop.
Mm.
Might have to restart Windows.
You know, I thought about that, but if I do that, I have to restart this whole presentation. You know, we have to restart the whole seminar. So let's hope that's not what's trying to happen here.
Littlefoot says, "Oh, I had a parrot. I had an Amazon parrot.
You do
She
now?
died about, no, I don't now. 2
Oh.
years ago, she passed away. But I had her for like 8 years. I loved that bird.
Oh,
Come on, don't do me like this.
And I don't know if you like almonds. You don't, do you?
Who maybe has, who's
The
watching this?
presentation?
Who's watching it? Who has it on their desktop?
I can in like a minute.
Accessible.
has what on the desk?
My my PDF that I sent you.
I
It
can
doesn't-
open in another tab.
Oh, there we go.
What page were we on?
You know, I'm not sure. Just scroll through until we get to archangels.
Uh-oh.
Almost there. Can you all see this? You guys can see this? Okay.
Yep, I lost it.
I don't have a printed out copy. So Tammy's going to get to play secretary.
Do I have to read?
No,
Oh,
no, I can read it. You're just going to have to be my scroller.
I can do that.
Okay. Pilot to co-pilot.
Yes.
We're going to be like Top Gun.
I'm not going to mute myself then unless the dogs start barking.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, actually, as long as you hear me,
Mm-hmm.
that's all that really matters.
I can mute. Okay, I'm going to mute then.
Okay, very good. Okay, the archangel connection. How do the archangels fit into Metatron's cube? Go ahead, Tammy, and bring me to the next one. So when you work with Metatron's cube, you connect the entire pantheon of the major archangels as they all hold a place in the sphere, in the tree of life. Each archangel holds a specific energy and role in assisting mankind. The archangels amplify specific attributes and gifts for humankind as they are here to be in service for humanity. So when you call on an archangel for assistance, you activate the flow of divine intervention that calls forth the hand of God and is expressed through each messenger or archangel. Judith, could I get you to mute, sweetie?
I lost the whole picture. I can't figure out how to get it back. I'm gonna have to read.
So the tree of life, this is a one variation of the tree of life. And it takes you through all the different spheres and what they're called in Hebrew and the archangel that is associated with them. So you'll see at the top that Metatron is at the crown. He's at the top of the tree of life and at the top of Metatron cube. He is actually the archangel that holds all the energy that flows through the tree of life down into all these worlds and into the energetics of the archangels. He's kind of like the in charge guy. And then down at the bottom is his twin Sandalphon. So a little bit of what I do know about the tree of life is Metatron holds the masculine, and Sandalphon holds the feminine, the Shekinah. And then all the other archangels fall in a sphere in between. And so you're probably familiar with most of them. Is everybody here pretty familiar with archangels? What they're called, who they are? We're going to go through them a little bit more specifically too, in case you want a little bit of extra information. And so you can go ahead and shift me, Tammy. So the top sphere is Metatron, who's the grandfather of all the archangels and sits at the right hand of God. He dispenses his wisdom and will. He's also known as the voice of God, Metatron is. Did you guys ever see the movie with, I can't think of his name now, but it was called, wow, why am I totally blanking on this? I'll come back to it. Who was the actor who was in Good Will Hunting?
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, yeah. He did a movie with Ben Affleck. And Metatron was in it, a bunch of the archangels. I'll think of it in a minute. We'll come back to it. Dogma.
Yeah.
Dogma, that was the movie.
I know. I looked into it, but it looks good.
It's a parody or like a satire.
Oh, okay. Makes sense then. Okay, it makes sense. Okay.
On fallen angels and God and the archangels. So if you want to like a good satire, that's a fun movie to watch. And so Zafkiel is God's knowledge. So remembering E-L, when you see the prefix E-L, it means of God. So God's knowledge, angel of understanding and compassion. She helps people learn how to love God and has love for them. And so I like to go through the archangels one by one so that if you are working on a specific theme in your life, you can call upon one or more of them that kind of host that energy for humanity to help you through it. Raziel is the keeper of God's wisdom and presides over the action of turning knowledge into practical wisdom. Raziel helps us humans apply our knowledge until it becomes spiritualized and second nature to us. Chamiel is the one who seeks God. Peaceful relationships. He's for peaceful relationships. People sometimes ask for Chamiel's help to discover more about God's unconditional love and find inner peace and resolve conflicts and find forgiveness for others. So when I work with people who are going through relationship stuff, partnership, Chamiel is a good archangel to call upon for relationships. So if you have some relationship struggles in your life, you're working through some things with your partner, that's your archangel. Zadkiel means righteousness of God and is the angel of freedom, benevolence, mercy, and the patron angel of all who forgive. Raphael, it is God who heals, the supreme healer in the angelic realm, health, heart, and emotions. Then Michael means who is like God. As a defender of all that is pure, he is the epitome of strength and valor. He intervenes miraculously to save lives and protect our bodies and loved ones, our vehicles, our belongings, and reputations. So those are some of the more familiar. So did any of you feel like you have an archangel that you work actively with or is around you a lot, or maybe that you channel or talk to quite a bit?
Mine would be Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually call in Michael pretty much every day, and then Gabrielle and Metatron, like starting in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know much about him, but his name came into my awareness when I would pray. And so then he was, but I haven't really done much research on him. I just knew when to incorporate him, and it was all he always came into my awareness when it was about, you know, ascension and keeping me on the right path.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to have kind of now, you know, been brought to you and all of this. I've been just devouring it all. But every day I work with the angels pretty heavily. It's
yeah,
it's
he's trying to keep you on the straight and narrow.
Oh, for sure.
Maria, boom, back in your own lane.
Yeah, I've got Saturn retrograde in my natal chart, so he's definitely.
Well, and Saturn is, okay, so you know how gods and goddesses are another aspect, or all aspects of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So Saturn is a lesser aspect of Metatron.
Oh, really?
Yes. And lesser doesn't mean he's less. It just means that, like, if Metatron was the ultimate archetype,
yeah,
Saturn would be another aspect.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I knew there was a connection, but that is awesome.
Yeah, and so Tehote, Thoth is another one, and I think Ganesha is another variation of Metatronic energy too.
Wow.
So yeah, so you know, now knowing that and knowing how predominant Saturn is in your astrology chart right now, you can just, you know, just having that knowledge kind of takes it all to the next level.
Totally.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Real quick.
Yeah.
About Saturn. Sorry.
What, honey?
Oh, sorry. My computer like died out again. What did you say about Saturn again? About...
It's an aspect of Metatron.
Oh, okay. What were the other aspects?
Thoth, Tehote, sometimes he's called, and I believe Ganesha has an association with Metatron.
Thank you.
So there's different variations of even the archangels that we're working with that we don't even realize that we're working with. So Haniel is the grace of God and will help you develop your intuition and clairvoyance, as well as any aspect of sacred feminine energy. It's very effective to call upon Haniel during the full moon, especially if there's anything you'd like to release or heal. And Haniel is just beautiful, lovely, soft, feminine energy. If you've ever worked with her, if you decide to work with her, you will just feel nothing but like this pure essence of total unconditional softness and feminine love. Gabriel is called Messenger of God. Call on her when you need to deliver a message or speak your truth. She helps things with throat chakra. So is it new information to anybody that Gabriel is a feminine angel? In Christianity, we're of course taught that the angel Gabriel is male. Gabriel is in fact a feminine angel, probably shifted in gender through patriarchy to take on a masculine description as the messenger to Mary that she would be bearing a child. But she is in fact a more feminine energy. And really, the archangels probably don't really have a gender like we would define a gender. It's just an energetic emanation or imprint. When I work with Metatron, there's nothing feminine about him at all. Same with Michael. They're very masculine energies, very protective. When I work with Gabriel or Haniel, you can absolutely feel a feminine presence and a softness. And with Sandalphon also. Even though he's masculine, there's a different type of energy that I feel from him that actually almost feels kind of androgynous, I guess, with that feminine mixed in there. And Sandalphon was a biblical prophet, Elijah. He is an angel and protector of earth and a master of music. He also rules the seventh heaven and is known as the angel of mercy and the angel of prayer. So how does calling upon the archangels help us? The angelic realm exists to serve humanity. It is said that we are in awe of the angels and the angels are in awe of us. The majority of the angels have never been in human form. They have never felt cool water or felt the touch of a child or a kiss of love. They have not smelled a rose or the warmth of a fire. It is our deep emotions and connections to feeling that they are in the most awe of. They watch us with great reverence for our journey through life and experiences and wish us to help us with everything. The angels are always here to help because we have free will. They can only intercede to do that which does not conflict with our free will. If you would like to invoke more of an active support with the angels, you must ask. Give them permission. Archangels are specifically powerful and powerful, collective, and available to assist all of us. All of us simply by calling upon them for guidance, protection, healing, and help in general. They love us humans very much and want to be summoned to help us create a healthier, more joyful existence. When we begin using sacred geometry and Metatron's cube in our daily life, we activate the accelerated divine flow of archangel energy that has the potential to create multiple realities and timelines. The ones which you place your attention and time the strongest will manifest in your outer world. What do you really, really want? Are you clear in this vision? Do you truly know? And are you worthy to receive? These are all just questions maybe to consider or ask yourself as you're moving into your creations. The archangels, like sacred geometry, are transcendental. They are beyond our experience of phenomena, and although not beyond our potential knowledge. They defy time and space and being beyond ordinary or common experience, thought, or belief. They are supernatural. Sacred geometry is both physical and metaphysical, abstract and concrete. Transcendental, by the way, means it belongs to all of us. When we tune in to meditate on or even draw or color sacred geometry, we tap into a universe of possibilities that allows us to mold our reality and our physical experience into that of the mind of the Creator. For that is what sacred geometry is. It's the shapes and patterns that create physical reality through the mapping of our minds and individual God consciousness. Any questions on that? Any thoughts on that? So who was Plato? Do y'all remember, or anybody remember studying Plato in school? You probably learned the really boring stuff. I'm going to teach you some really cool stuff about Plato. He was a philosopher in classical Greek, born 428 BC, and his teacher was Socrates, and he was a student of Aristotle. He laid the foundation of Western science and philosophy and mathematics. He also had a great influence later on Christianity and spirituality. Some of his most notable works are the discovery of the Platonic solids as the building blocks of our physical reality. So is there anybody here that is hearing Platonic solids for the first time, hearing that term? Okay, Platonic solids, what are they? The Platonic solids, so this is the mathematical description of a Platonic solid. I put that in there just so you would have the technical version of what that is. But that's not really the fun version or variation of what the Platonic solids are. Okay, what's really important for you to know is, first of all, that there's 5 of them and they're all associated with an element. So go ahead, Tammy. So the first one is a tetrahedron. The tetrahedron is a 3-dimensional polyhedron that is made up of 4 equilateral triangles. 6 edges, 4 faces. It's a convex polyhedron with such qualities. It's kind of a pyramid. So pyramids are the energy and manifestation generators. The element associated with the tetrahedron is fire. So I want you guys to think about pyramids. The ancients, go back just a second for that, honey. So the ancients all over the world built their temples in what shape? Pyramids. Why do you suppose they did that? And why do you suppose that's a common theme across every culture, every existence of every cosmology?
Because it wanted to be like a conduit for energy to connect with source.
Yeah, because a pyramid amplifies energy up, right? And also it contains the energy of fire. That's the element. So when they wanted to make contact with their star family, right? What they would do inside the pyramid or inside the temple would go up through the pyramid, and oftentimes it was open at the top, and go out to the cosmos, and energy or messages would be sent or received down in through that space. So again, it just like, if you think about it, it just floors you how the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Egyptians, well, they all did the same things. They didn't know each other. They didn't hang out together. They were on separate continents and parts of the world, yet they all were taught or knew how to do the same thing to reach the cosmos and to hold ceremony. Okay, go ahead. So the cube is a region of space formed by 6 identical square faces joined along their edges. The 3 edges join at each corner to form a vortex. The cube can also be called a regular hexahedron. It has 6 faces that are all squares, so each face has 4 equal sides. All 4 interior angles are at right angles. Cubes represent foundation, so think about Earth. What shape are most of our houses built in?
Squares?
Yeah, squares or maybe rectangles. Because that shape represents grounding and foundation. So somehow when humanity started building homes for ourselves, we were either told or naturally knew, or maybe the information was passed down from somewhere, that we needed to build our home, our foundation, with 4 corners. Our chairs are mostly made with 4 legs for stability, yeah? Okay, so you have your tetrahedron, your fire symbol. You have your cube, which is your earth. And then you have something called an octahedron. And most of us know octo means what number? 8. The octahedron is bound by 8 equilateral triangles. The number of the vertices is 3. It has these polygons meeting at a vertex 4. The number of faces is 8, hence octahedron. And the number of the edges is 12. So 8 is the number of manifestation. So let's talk about manifestation through the number 8. And the element is air. So when you think about 8 in manifestation, sometimes what comes up also is the infinity symbol, right? You guys all know what an infinity symbol is, yeah? So when you look at an infinity symbol, 8 is the number of infinity, and 8 is, the infinity symbol is as above, so below. So whatever is imprinted from above, from the cosmos, it's bringing heaven to earth. So when you work with the octahedron, and there you go, that a girl. She got an, you know. Why'd you put that on your neck, Kelly?
My husband and I actually, we both did it. He has it on his arm, and we did it because we felt like we had a connection past just this life, and like it's, infinity and beyond sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that it also represented as above, so below, which has been like a common theme with things that keep coming to my awareness. So that was really cool to hear
So
that.
isn't it cool that you
Mhm.
knew, but you didn't know, but you knew?
Yeah, super cool.
Like when we are drawn, if you are drawn to certain symbols
Hmm.
and shapes and patterns, you might know kind of some of the reason why you're drawn, but there's always like layers within layers of meanings with all of these symbols. And when you start to like uncover that, when you just trust that
Hmm.
symbol or that shape, it has something that is specific to you, and you just trust that and maybe learn about it or utilize that, like that becomes, it's so personalized to you,
Right.
like that symbol. And again, the personalization and the intention
Hmm.
that you and your husband have this beautiful unifying, it's like unity for you guys. It's like
Hmm.
you're connected through all time and space and all realities infinitely.
Hmm.
And that's a beautiful like example of how to harness the energy of a symbol to enhance your relationship.
Right.
When I marry people on Kauai, I will often, if it's possible, I will place them inside a Vesica Pisces, meaning I'll make a Vesica Pisces out of something. Sometimes I use, shells and rose petals and make a Vesica Pisces. Sometimes we just go to the beach and we find out, we find one time, the last couple I married, we found some sea kelp. And we just made a Vesica Pisces out of the sea kelp, and I had them stand in it and get married. So when you start to understand how you can take shapes and numbers, because everything's numbers, and you can bring that into your sphere and create through that, it really does change the level of what you do everything, because everything is about amplification of your intentions and your emotions, and most of all, your belief. Belief has so much to do with it. If you really put the intention in there that I understand the power this shape and symbol has, and I totally believe that I am part of creation, I am part of the manifestation process, it runs through me, I actually can dictate the flow of how it happens, and let that symbol or that shape or that number like be your guide, it's amazing what we can bring forward. We've got people in the chats. I just noticed you guys have been, oh, you're doing cat talk. How not even anything to do with me. Okay, let's go on. So the dodecahedron is bound by 12 equilateral pentagons. The number of vertices is 5. It has all this other information that we don't really care too much about, but the number edges is 30, and the number of the faces is 20. So dodecahedrons represent the idealized form of the divine thought or will or idea, and the element is spirit, okay, or ether. So if you wanted to play around with the dodecahedron, if you want to utilize that shape for manifesting and creating, that is a representation of holding spirit, okay, of holding the ether. Yeah, thanks, Tammy. Any questions on that one? I actually have a friend who has a giant dodecahedron structure made out of copper. So you guys have seen copper pyramids, yeah? This is a dodecahedron that he has set up in his living room with crystals in it that you can actually get inside for meditation. I thought meditating under a pyramid was powerful. Holy smokes, you get inside a dodecahedron. Okay, if you take a dodecahedron and put it up on the wall and stare at it or ask it to come into your field, the meditation and the connection that you get through this symbol is pretty intense. It's pretty amazing. So there's on that. So the icosahedron is water. the icosahedron is built around the pentagon in a golden section. So every facet of the icosahedron is an equilateral triangle. The triangular faces of the icosahedron result from its pentagonal nature. So it's actually another form of magic, or of a pentagram. And the element associated with that is water. And because my element is mainly water, it really excites me that this is the most like complex form of a platonic solid. And you think about water, you think about how complex that element is, water, and how water is imprintable, and how water holds memory, right? You guys know that, right? So if you were going to work with an icosahedron, it's like you could actually imprint something on every single one of the faces. So those are the 5 platonic solids. Those are the 5 building blocks of everything that is around us. And as you even look around your rooms or the space that you're in, that's all you're going to see is rectangles, cubes, triangles, pyramids. Okay, all forms of geometry are all around us all the time. Our bodies are geometry. Our bodies are a 5-pointed star. So literally everything that around us, every flower, everything in nature is a form of sacred geometry, or most namely the platonic solids. So a Merkaba, anybody here not familiar with a Merkaba? Hearing this for the first time? Okay, so a Merkaba is a combination of an upward facing and a downward facing triangle. The Merkaba goes by a few different names and has a few different definitions depending on what cosmology you're working with. So in metaphysical cosmology, the Merkaba can be called the chariot of the soul. And you see the little depiction of the person in there? The Merkaba is a vehicle, called a vehicle for ascension. And has anybody ever done like a Merkaba meditation? Ever worked with any of those meditations that are about the Merkaba? Okay. So there's some things specifically out there that we can use the Merkaba for growing in our evolution ascension. We'll talk about them in a second. So history has talked about Merkaba mostly as a vehicle that allows a person to ascend or descend into higher and lower worlds. But actually the Merkaba is much more than a vehicle of ascension. It can be really anything. Since it's the primal pattern that recreated all things in all universes, both visible and invisible. In the Bible, there's a reference to Ezekiel and the wheels by which Ezekiel ascended into heaven was via the Merkaba. In ancient Egypt, this primal pattern called Merkaba was actually 3 words, 3 separate words and not one. So Mer being some kind of light that rotated within itself, Ka is the human spirit, and Ba is the human body. So the entire word in Egypt referred to a rotating light that would take the spirit and the body from one world to the other. So that's how the ancient Egyptians utilized that formation. Mer being a light that rotated within itself, meaning the top triangle and the bottom triangle, one spins clockwise, one spins counterclockwise. And it actually carries the human spirit and the body through different worlds. And if you're curious about it, there are some meditations available out there. You can Google them that will help you to create an etheric Merkaba around you for meditation or for dream time if you want to use it as a vehicle to go traveling in your sleep or even during meditation. Go back for just a second, honey. The Merkaba is a tool to aid in the ascension process. The ascension involves a process where the human body is transformed into light and translated by an incredible birth into a new world. It is achieved through a meditation that requires the mind, heart, and body and spirit to completely integrate into one pattern. So the Merkaba also is called the Seal of Solomon. So if you looked into Old Testament and into Hebrew literature, they would take that formation that the ancient Egypt's called the Merkaba, and it's the Seal of Solomon, which is also a magical seal that Solomon used. The other variation of the Merkaba is that the upward facing and the downward facing triangles, and Tammy, will you go back a slide for me? One more. So the upward facing and the downward facing triangles that you see there, they also represent the unionization of the masculine and the feminine coming together. In feminine literature or goddess literature, it might be called the chalice and the blade. There's actually a book out there written by a feminist writer about the integration of the masculine and feminine called the chalice and the blade. So think about it, the chalice is the cup, and the feminine, the holder, the vessel, and the blade coming down as representative of the male or the phallic, integrating together to become the masculine and feminine unification. So when we talk about balancing our masculine and feminine or integrating our masculine and feminine, this would be the symbol that was the representation of the idea of that unionization. Is anybody not familiar with kind of that terminology or what I'm talking about? Because right now there's a lot of talk about integrating our masculine and feminine, right? That symbol is the representation of that idea or that achievement, I guess you could say. Because the upward and downward facing triangles represent the masculine and feminine energies coming together. Any questions on that? Does it feel clear as mud? Come on, is this thing on? Okay.
We're all on mute.
I know, but you can unmute if you want to give me any kind of feedback. It's a lot of information. I just want to make sure everybody feels good.
Which one goes clockwise?
The upper one is clockwise. The lower one is counterclockwise.
You mean the one pointing up?
Yes. So you can go through the meditations and build yourself a Merkaba online. It's a very complicated type of meditation, but it's very thorough. Or if you just want to sit down in your meditation and envision yourself like this little person right here inside of a Merkaba, and envision them rotating around you clockwise and counterclockwise, and ask spirit to take you up in that vehicle, take you traveling, that's probably enough.
So it's the same for male and female?
Yeah. And really, it doesn't matter which you counter clockwise and which you clockwise, Judith. Sometimes there's rules about stuff. And I think anymore, because of how we're evolving so freely and greatly, that we need to go more by feel and what feels right to us than we do by rules. If you want to shift or change something in your environment or with the geometry you're working within, if something feels a little bit better to you, this goes for anything. If you're practicing your Reiki, if you do Reiki, you know, if some things you want to do a little bit differently than the traditional taught, I think it's really important for us to honor our own intuition and to honor what works really well for us, and not just the kind of teaching that comes out of a book or off of YouTube, and make things really personal to us and how they can best aid us. And also, I think it's really important to not include anything that doesn't feel true or resonant to us. So any information you get from teacher, healer, YouTube, book, whatever, we're changing and evolving so quickly that information is also changing and evolving. Some of it's not even relevant anymore. Have you guys found that? Have you kind of gone through your progression? That stuff maybe you've learned or felt over the years, one time felt really relevant, but now it's kind of like it's old news.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that has happened within our chakras, within our energy centers. And before we jump off the call today, I'm going to take you through some information that Metatron has given to me about our energy centers, about how they're changing and evolving, including the colors that we typically associate. We are evolving so rapidly that the old rules and the old writings, they're just not so relevant anymore. So it's good and important that we unlearn some of the things we have learned and let go maybe some of the dogma that we unintentionally develop around what we're taught in spirituality and in the metaphysical world. And know that we are our own conduit and we are our own guru, and that we all have our own specific channel to the divine, and we have access to anything it is we want and are ready to know. And so even today, if I speak something to you and it doesn't quite resonate, it's okay for you to decide that's not your truth, or to maybe put it on the back burner till later and decide how you feel. Because you guys, we all get to be our own individual creators of our life, our spirituality, our world. I get to stand up here or sit here with you today and show you some things that I believe and the things that I think are really cool. And you get to decide, you know, what you want to do with it or not do with it. So let's head on back through. What is the flower of life? And this is probably one of the most familiar / recognizable symbols in all of sacred geometry. Yeah, everybody's seen this before?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. This is my wisdom wear shirt. This is the one that I have.
Yeah. So the flower of life is a geometrical shape composed of multiple evenly spaced overlapping circles arranged in a flower-like pattern with six-fold symmetry like a hexagon. The perfect form, proportion, and harmony of the flower of life has been known to philosophers, architects, and artists around the world. It is considered to be sacred geometry containing ancient religious value depicting the fundamental forms of time and space. It's believed to contain a type of Akashic record based on information of all living things and is the visual expression of the connections of life that run through all sentient beings. So the flower of life, the overlapping triangles, circles building upon one another repeatedly, represent timelines and realities building upon each other. So remember that time is not linear. Yeah, it's spiral. Time is a spiral, overlapping spirals on top of each other. So you can kind of see, and these spirals hold records, realities, lifetimes. So you can kind of take the spirals of time. You know, if you can kind of see that or envision that in your head, I kind of see it like a slinky. And if you took it and shifted it into a 3D or 2D, a two-dimensional figure, you would have the flower of life. Instead of being vertical this way, if you flip it to something two-dimensional, then you see timelines and realities through the flower of life. Does that make sense? So the flower of life has provided what is considered to be deep spiritual meaning and forms of enlightenment to those who have studied it. So if you were to take the flower of life and put it up on your wall and just meditate upon it, after a while, you will feel that flower of life come forward and actually engulf you. Like you will find that you feel like you are becoming a part of multidimensional timelines and realities, because it kind of either comes to you and engulfs you, or you feel like you go into it and you become absorbed by it either way. And it's another one of those experiences that we can have through geometry that are really multidimensional and expansive, and that open us up and activate our DNA and activate our cells to something that is meta, above the physical, metaphysical, and beyond like our current third dimensional scope. So when we talk about becoming fifth dimensional beings in a third dimensional body, we've maybe all had those transcendental experiences, during meditation, or at some time when you meet somebody you have a connection to, or something happens to you, you feel like you are suspended in time, no time. Like there is no time. It's all just present moment. When you go into meditating and really being with sacred geometry, it will give you that kind of experience more often, where you feel like you are living transcendentally or living multidimensionally, which is what we are. We're multidimensional beings. Like you're doing that more in your life, which to me is fifth dimensional living, because that means I'm really in the world but not of it. And I am looking at these shapes and these forms and these possibilities and these aspects, and knowing that I can pull in and focus on and bring forward into my reality whatever I choose. And one of the main ways I do that is through sacred geometry. Just through being with it, just through being in it, wearing it, drawing it, coloring it, whatever you want to do. If you really want to tap deeper into it, this is the gateway out of the matrix. Okay, it's the gateway out of the matrix, sacred geometry, because you lose the idea of separateness. You go in more deeper into an embodied feeling of oneness, of being oneness with everything. We no longer we know that we're part of physical reality. We know our bodies feel physical, the things around us feel physical, but we also travel both worlds, where we feel we are in that non-physical soul spirit form, and a oneness and unified with everything that is in creation. That feel good to everybody? I really try to take non-tangible concepts and make them tangible, or complicated concepts and make them digestible, like make them understandable.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you. Because sacred geometry is not something for professors. It's not something for people who sit in caves and study it or stare at it or talk to God. It's for everybody. It's available to all of us. It's designed to be available for all of us. There was time in humanity, most of humanity, where this was secret. This was ancient. This is secret esoteric knowledge, and only elites or only really holy people could access it. It was considered to be something that was above regular people, that we weren't ready for, or maybe weren't good enough to access. It was actually taken from us. It's not true. Sacred geometry is a part and belongs to all of humanity and all of people. And the more of us who even have a basic understanding and are bringing into our lives, and shining that to other people, like ripple affecting that to other people. When you, for instance, when you wear sacred geometry, just wearing a shirt or having a tattoo or whatever you're doing, just wearing that ripple affects the planet. It changes because it goes out to everybody in some way. So just being with it and being in it and bringing it into your aura, and holding geometry in your aura changes you and changes everybody else around you.
Whenever I wear my Flower of Life shirt, and I wear it quite frequently, I need to get some more actually. I can always tell the people who are affected by it because they ask me what it is.
Yeah.
And if
people are drawn to it.
Mm-hmm. What is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's something in their subconscious that recognizes it, and they're drawn to it even though they don't know what it is. So now you have maybe a little bit more information where if you just want to tell them the basics, you can. Or you can just say, they're magical manifesting symbols, whatever you want to say.
I always say, yeah, isn't that cool? Then I tell them about the crystal, the Andara crystal.
Thank you. and even when you have sacred geometry in your field, sending that out through your heart tour, sending it out through your heart chakra, like that really does affect and change people.
Can I add something?
Sure.
I thought was so really expansive when I watched one of your YouTube videos on sacred geometry, and it was so spectacular. It was changed my way of perceiving and looking, and the information that I received was completely different. And it was the simplest practical tool that you said was to just take your eye and follow the shapes.
Mm-hmm.
And once I did that, usually I stare at things and I go into it, mm-hmm. because I let my eyes just kind of I don't know how to explain it, but just kind of become one, like just kind of just I don't know. But once you told me to just follow the shapes, they all started really just trying to transforming. Everything started to unfold. Instead of me going in, it engulfed me.
Yeah. It's a whole new world.
Oh, and then from that night on, I've been like not sleeping, looking at all different shapes, just following it. And then from like 12 o'clock, and then it's like 4:30, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta take care of children. But my whole day then is totally different.
Yeah.
I
love it. I love it. Yeah, when you start to like really get obsessed with it, the lens through which you see and feel and experience life becomes different. It's like somebody took the veil away.
That's exactly it.
And you notice it everywhere. Yeah. And you see sacred geometry and everything and everywhere. And suddenly everything becomes more of a miracle.
Yeah.
And everything becomes more precious and amazing because you are tuned into creation.
Yeah. I thought I was before, but it's a completely different way. Instead of just kind of losing yourself in something, I was able to then just take in a more definitive of the defining element.
So instead of just being an abstract right brain, it becomes your left brain goes, oh, I know what this is. And you get this practical, this left brain understanding of what is abstract. And so both hemispheres of your brain are working. One's just enjoying the pretty. The other one is seeing lines and shapes and definition and patterns. So both sides of your brains are happy.
Yeah.
They're both throwing a party, right? And your third eye goes.
Yeah. Blown away. Totally.
Yeah,
so
nice.
Good.
Thank you for sharing that. Awesome.
Thank you.
So the flower of life symbol represents important meaning throughout history. It can be found in manuscripts, temples, and art throughout cultures around the world. The components of the flower of life have been a part of the work of alchemists. Metatron's cube is a symbol derived from the flower of life, which was used as a containment circle or creation circle. So alchemy. How many of you work consciously with alchemy? You know, you alchemize yourself every day in some way. You know what alchemy is? It's changing something into something else. The literal term is lead into gold. But the spiritual term is transforming from one state and moving into another state, which we all do somehow, some way in our lives. But if you want to start consciously alchemizing yourself, one of the ways you can do it is through studying sacred geometry. Okay, Tammy, go. The fruit of life is known as the Holy of the Holies, the sacred geometry, because of a hidden pattern within the well known as the flower of life. The flower of life is said to be the actual blueprint of the universe and essentially everything in existence. The shape of the fruit of life is composed of 13 circles. 13 is also the key for unity and for transition between worlds and dimensions. All those who play an instrument know the chromatic scale of the 12 notes. The 13th note is actually repeating the first note, only on a higher frequency. When you attain an higher octave, you enter higher dimensions. By studying the structure of the fruit of life, you can open the gateway to higher dimensions and worlds. It is also claimed that the structure of the fruit of life contains possible dimensions of the universe. You can go ahead and go. So this is some different depictions of how the Platonic solids fit into the fruit of life. And if you noticed, the 13 circles that you see there in the fruit of life are the pattern for Metatron's cube, the spheres in the Metatron's cubes. You guys all notice that? That the 13 spheres in Metatron's cube are the fruit of life and are also the tree of life and are also all the 5 Platonic solids in there at once. So there's a lot going on at one time in Metatron's cube.
And they represent the feminine as well, or?
We're going to get there. Yes, okay. We're going to get there. Thanks, Tammy. You can go ahead and go.
Is that it?
Oh, we're on slide 54. Okay. So now we are going to go off script. Meaning that the next set of information that I'm going to give you over the next 20 minutes or so is something that I have not put in writing, but was channeled directly to me from Metatron, that he asked me to disperse to anybody who wanted to have the information. And a lot of it is around the number 13 and the power and the meaning of the number 13. So when you guys think of the number 13, what do you think of? What first comes to mind?
It's a lucky number for me.
Okay, good.
Friday the 13th.
Don't like to incorporate it. A lot of places don't like to incorporate 13. It's considered unlucky as well.
Do you know why?
Well, I'm guessing it's like people that make the inversion don't like to really incorporate that, because that's Christ. I'm pretty sure that's like the Christ conscious number as well. Like like Jesus represents that number.
Yes.
13.
So 13 represents a lot of things. 13 is actually the goddess number. 13 moon cycles in a calendar year, right? So if you look at a sea turtle, which are a symbol of the feminine, there's 13 squares, or not squares, but portions to their shell. 13 is associated with the feminine. So part of patriarchy's or Christianity's inversion of the power of the feminine was to make it evil or to make it bad.
Hi, Ameera.
Hi.
Sorry, I just jumped in here right as you started this whole thing with 13. So good to
Okay.
see you.
Yeah, you heard your calling. This is Josie,
I
everybody.
was gonna say it's 13 would be if Mary Magdalene was added to the 12 disciples.
Well, we're on our way there. So thank you. We're there. We're on our way there. 13 is a master number. 13 is the number of mastery. So if you think about the 12 disciples, or you think about King Arthur, and how many Knights of the Round Table did he have? 12. What happens when you add King Arthur to the 12, or Jesus to his 12 disciples? You have the number 13. When you get to number 13, you have brought in the master. So we have 12 hours twice a day. We have 12 months in a calendar. 12 represents completion. 13 represents the new start, okay, or the mastery. And Josie's right, it's also feminine in nature, that if you added Mary Magdalene to the 12 disciples, you would have the master number, you would have the mastery. Together, the Christ energy is the master energy. Okay, that divine union between them was master energy. So 13 is one of the most powerful numbers that we have. It's one of the most powerful numbers that is available for us to come into our mastery. And you all know that we are becoming masters, right? Our own gurus. We're all coming into our mastery. So how does that relate to sacred geometry and Metatron's cube? Well, we have 13 spheres that are the feminine. They represent the feminine of Metatron's cube. The lines represent the masculine. So Metatron's cube is the portal of the masculine and feminine energies coming together. Every line in Metatron's cube penetrates a sphere or a circle. So just like the masculine penetrates the feminine with the sperm and the ovum, right? The sperm or the line has to have a destination. The sperm's destination is the ovum. The line's destination is the sphere or the circle. When something enters the feminine or the sphere or the egg, what happens? When the sperm enters the egg, what happens? Life. The feminine creates everything from whatever enters her. She makes more of it. Okay, so the coming together in sacred geometry of the feminine 13 and the masculine, the line. So lines have to have a destination. The lines enters the sphere, and in the sphere, in the circle, is where all creation happens. Go back to the sphere in the Vesica Pisces. How that builds upon itself. Okay? How the egg, you guys seen pictures of the egg in development after impregnation? It turns into the Vesica Pisces, and then the seed of life, and then the fruit of life, and then the flower of life, and on. So the actual creation process of humans is all geometry. It's all about that coming together, the unification of the masculine and the feminine taking that and creating life. Everybody with me so far? So I'm going to take you a little bit. Anybody learning anything new from what I just said? Like when I learned this, when Metatron told me this, it blew my mind. Somebody tell me your mind is blown.
My mind is trying to keep up.
Okay, because it's a lot. Yes.
It is.
But it's so multi-layered. It's geometry and life and nature is so much more than it's such an exquisite divine design that again, when you learn about it and start to tap into it, you get caught up in the magic and miracles of how we got here and what we're doing here. We do not have 7 chakras in our body. We're taught we have 7 major chakras. Okay, that's true. We have 7 major chakras. And since the, inception of us all learning about our energy centers, our chakras, we've predominantly just been taught about 7 major ones, right? When we started learning and reading books and humanity started evolving, we kind of needed to be like spoon-fed first and learn about the 7. We are way past knowing about and working about only 7 energy centers, evolving way past that. You want to guess how many major energy centers we actually have?
13.
13! We have 13. We have a 13 chakra template within our auric field. And I'm going to see if I can bring up a piece on this. And they're represented by the 13 spheres that are in Metatron's cube. Okay, and we're actually going to go through and we're gonna map these out. If you guys printed out that Metatron's cube I gave you, our energy centers are not vertical. They're multidimensional. We're taught to work with them vertically because that makes sense to our left brain. Like it makes sense to us to be able to do that, right? Just to follow up along the body. But we're multidimensional beings, and that's not actually where our energy centers are. They're multidimensionally around us. So I'm going to see, can you stop share there for a second, Tammy? And I'll see if this will work for me. Oops, stay there. So if I'm losing you a little bit, just speak up and we'll go back. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all the meanings of all the chakras. Did that open? There we go. Because most of it's basic knowledge to any of us who've been on the path for a while, we know. So I'm just going to run through these really quickly and go through the ones that maybe you're not aware of. Do you know we have a chakra under our feet called the Earth Star? Maybe not aware. If you're not aware, now you know. It's just a little bit beneath our feet, and that's actually our first energy center. That's the one that grounds us to the planet and grounds our energy in. It's usually brown or black. Yours might look different, and that's okay too. That's our first. Then we have the root, which is base of the spine. And again, I'm just going to go through this quickly. So if you need me to halt and go back, let me know. The third one is the sacral chakra, which is our masculine and feminine energy, our creative center. And then the next one is our solar plexus. The next one is the heart chakra. And then we have an energy center called the high heart chakra. So the heart is about the giving expression. The high heart is about worthiness and receiving. So when you become aware that we actually have right at the thymus, the high heart energy center, this is where we learn to be good receivers and learn about our value and learn about our worthiness and not just give through the heart like kind of we're taught, right? This is where we are in a place of allowing and receiving and balancing the high heart or balancing the heart. Then we have a throat. We've got our divine eye or third eye. And then the crown chakra. Then right behind the center of your head is an energy center called the soul star. And I kind of refer to it as the Jiminy Cricket, let your conscience be your guide. You know that voice you have in the back of your head that doesn't always talk to you very nice? Do you sometimes have that voice that doesn't talk to you very well? That is that energy center being hijacked. That is something other than the voice of your soul. Because your voice of your soul will what? Always talk to you with kindness, compassion, and love. Always. That's your soul's voice. Most of us don't hear that voice very much. We hear a different voice. A voice that I have a friend who calls it the itty bitty shitty committee, who talks us out of our greatness, who talks us out of our worth, talks down to us and makes us think less of ourselves. When you hear that voice in your head, just know that's not the voice of your soul. It's a voice that's been hijacked, because the voice of your soul always going to talk to you with kindness, compassion, and love. So when you hear that voice in the back of your head, saying those things to you, woulda, shoulda, coulda, you can just very gently, without any judgment, notice it and realize that's not your soul talking to you. Soul loves you. The soul is you. It's all kindness, and you can release that voice. Say, oh, that's not the voice of my soul. Voice of my soul always talks to me with kindness, compassion, and love. And learn to re-imprint your soul star with your soul's voice. Then right above your head, above the crown, we have what's called the light star. And so this is the energy center that your guides and angels speak down to you through, into your crown. So when we open and activate the light star energy center, the light star chakra, it allows us to hear more clearly the voice of our higher guidance. Sometimes we kind of block that out, either on accident or because maybe we don't think we're hearing right. We kind of like sabotage our own guidance. So you guys, it's really important that as beings who are becoming masters, that we learn to honor and trust ourselves. All these things that you think you came here to do, you did. All these gifts and these skills and this cool stuff you came to express to the planet, all that stuff, you can really do that. And we have higher guidance within us, and that which is a part of us, speaking through and to us, that is here to help us walk into that. And then the 12th chakra is about a foot above your head, and it's called the infinite gateway. And it is the completion point and the access point to all the other energy centers outside of our aura that go up and up and up into the cosmos. So this is where we start to experience ultimate consciousness. So when you are working with sacred geometry, when you start to have those transcendental feelings, when those transcendental experiences start to happen within you and through you, and you start to see them and feel them in your crown and in your third eye and your body, that's where that transmission is coming from. Okay, it's coming from your infinite gateway, and it's gold. So the reason I'm telling you this, all of this, giving this extra information, and if anybody wants this piece, I'll send it to you, is so that you can begin to view yourself as a multidimensional being, period. And know that you have access to work with more energy centers than maybe you were told or shown. And stepping into our mastery means we get to open and activate and realize ourselves as multidimensional beings. So we have also a 13th energy center. And the 13th energy center is our master chakra. And it has begun over the years to open up and activate in all of us. And our master chakra is located right here between the heart and the solar plexus. So between the heart and the solar plexus, you have an energy center. And if maybe over the last months or years, if you felt some kind of interesting sensations there, pressure, tingling, something happening, not quite in your heart and not quite in your solar plexus, that's that 13th master chakra activating. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
Can you say where it is again?
Right between the heart and the solar plexus.
Solar, okay.
Okay, so the 13th master chakra is your Christ consciousness energy center. It is right in the center of your body between energy centers. So I want you to go back and think about the Vesica Pisces. I want you to think about those two spheres blending together and the spirit that moves in the middle, the third. That's your sacred soul. The sacred soul is merging the heart and solar plexus with it to become one energy generator. That is both heart energy and personal power melded with divine power.
Can you say that one more time?
I'll
just
try.
The last line.
So it is two energy centers.
Yep.
Three energy centers actually merging together through the heart space, supported by personal power combined with divine power. So think Vesica Pisces. Think about the one separating, becoming the two and the three, like holding the Trinity in your body. It's the whole, you're basically holding the Holy Trinity within you. Okay, you are the Holy Grail. You've heard that term? That the Holy Grail is not a cup? It's the bloodline of Christ? Well, who do you think the bloodline of Christ is?
We are.
We are the Grail.
That's awesome.
And our energy centers, okay, our template, chakra templates, yeah, right? Like we literally hold that symbology within us.
It's amazing.
So when you start to wrap your mind around that, you start to wrap your mind about how humans, our human form is, and everything we've been taught about our humanness is such a big, fat, illusionary lie. That we are literally the embodiment of the Christ consciousness, of the Christ, the masculine and the feminine, coming together, unifying. And that spirit, you know, that divine will that runs within us. When you start to live and work and believe in that, whole life will change. And as you start to believe, because it's really easy to believe in the Christ in other people, right? Kind of hard to believe it about ourselves. We can believe about other people, how cool they are, how great they are, but why don't we believe that about ourselves? The minute you start to really believe that you are the embodiment because you hold the same template that I do, and Tammy does, and Dave does, and everybody else does, we all hold that template. How can you not? Nobody doesn't not hold it. We're just not told. This is just another way of you getting this information you've been hearing about You actually embody it. Okay, so when you start to really realize that that is your power center, the sacred soul chakra, the 13th chakra, because we are all masters coming into our mastery, it will change everything for you. You will love yourself so much more deeply, so much more harder and faster and better. And when we really love ourselves, like it's really all about self-love. What they say is true. It's really about unconditional self-love. When you begin to host that for yourself, not as an idea, but as a concept, like as a literal concept that you are love, that you are Christ's love, it will change the whole way you move and create through the world. Because you won't be mad at yourself anymore for what you think you can't do or haven't done. Pretty cool, huh? You are the Grail. And that's like proof that you're the Grail through your energy system, how it's set up. Our energy centers are not vertical. They are multidimensional, like Metatron's cube. So if you have your printout done, I'm going to take you through writing out and remapping everything we just talked about, and I'll speak them to you. I know it's kind of hard to see. We're going to remap our energy centers, and then when we do the Metatron's cube activation, all 13 of your chakras, which are represented by all 13 of these spheres, I'm going to teach you how to come from your sacred soul and run all your energy centers around you multidimensionally, not just vertically. Because that's what we are as multidimensional beings, right? Mm-hmm. So even though this is flat and two-dimensional, you have to go into your imagining, and everything's created by imagining it. Imagination is not fantasy. Imagining is how we create it. Everything that shows up, everything that is around us, somebody had to imagine that first into existence. Our imagining creates everything. Every one of these energy centers represented belong on an axis that run through Metatron's cube. They belong on a specific axis because certain energy centers work together. They all work together, but certain ones work together they just all work together. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so we can start here, and it doesn't matter when we do the outer ones, it doesn't matter if you start here or start here, because it rotates and moves and it's multidimensional. What matters is that you get the chakras, each individual one on each individual axis, but it doesn't matter which you put it on because it moves anyway. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to start at the Earth Star chakra. And just make one of your outer spheres the Earth Star. And then we're going to go up to the sacral. And then in the center, of course, is the sacred soul. Because that's the center of everything. That's like the hub through which everything else emanates.
What was the middle one, Ameera?
The sacred soul, the 13th.
Soul.
The one above that is the high heart. And then the one above that is the infinite gateway, which is the 12th at the top. So then over here, we have the root. And then the next one in is the solar plexus. Sacred soul's in the middle. You have the throat. Then you have the light star, which is number 11, above the crown. Okay, and then we have the soul star, which is the one in the back of the head. There's the heart, the sacred soul, the divine eye or your third eye, and the crown.
What's the one all the way at the top?
Right here?
Yeah.
Infinite gateway.
Okay.
And you guys, I don't care what color you want to make your chakras. There's the basic understanding of what color chakras are. We have transcended that.
Mine were all blue.
Okay. Whatever colors your chakras show up for you, that's the color.
Now, the Infinite Gateway, is that the gold ray, that meditation that I love and fall
Yes.
asleep to 3 seconds into? Yeah, okay.
Yep, that is, I for me, that, okay, when I do a gold ray meditation, and that's the ray that I work with and give to people, when it comes down to that infinite gateway chakra, I always see it as gold because that's where the gold ray comes down. But if you see it some other color, good for you. You guys go into your own bodies in meditation and you figure out what color your chakra is today. I see my earth star is a really dark, rich brown. If yours is purple, then it's purple. All that matters is that you notice it, that you utilize it when you need to, okay? And that you just let it do its thing. All the things we've been traditionally taught about what colors our energy centers are supposed to be, okay, they're supposed to be vibrant and they're supposed to be alive and thriving. But the root chakra does not have to be red. There are many spectrums of the color red. If something in that feels better to you, if that's how yours shows up, then that's great. What we don't want are energy centers that appear to be, deflated or really cloudy or dark. We do want our energy centers to be alive and vibrant with whatever color is in them. But you don't have to stick to traditional teachings about where they are and what they look like. Because you're the creator and because you are evolving differently than me. So your energy is going to be different than me. Yours is going to look different than mine. Because whatever's going on in your world is going to be different than what's going on in my world. There's no cookie cutter stuff. That makes sense to everybody? Okay, so how to make this, which is two-dimensional, and bring it into our energy field. And you guys all know you have an aura that's top to bottom and right to left, like all around you, yeah? You have an aura around you? It's that egg-shaped bubble that we all exist in. That's your energy field, your auric field. When we activate Metatron's cube into our aura, and if you agree or if you want, we will actually ask Metatron to deliver his geometry down into your aura. 3-dimensionally, multi-dimensionally. It's not going to come down flat like the paper. So you got to go into a little bit of your envisioning and imagination and creativity and experience it if you can, coming around you multi-dimensionally. And coming around you and allowing your sacred soul, okay, to beam out or express out these different vertices and axes that carry all of your energy centers around you. Does that make sense? I realize it's a kind of a big out there concept. And when he started talking to me and telling to teach people this way, I was like, oh, wow, that's so far out of like what we're conditioned and told. And he's asking me to write a book and teach this and do all this. it was really overwhelming for me because I didn't think people were going to believe me. I thought that people would believe all the sages and all the gurus and all the bigwigs of the spiritual world who've taught what's been taught for a really, really, really long time. So over the years, if I've taught small groups of people this, and as I'm beginning to write my book, like I realize how brave I have to be able to express this and be okay with whatever people thought. And if you decide that this is the most wonderful thing you've ever heard and you want to accept it and use it, cool, great. If you don't, I'm okay with that too. I appreciate your learning and listening and allowing me to express myself. We can only speak what we feel to be true, right? And be brave and speak what we feel to be true. I know all of you have things you want to express and speak and talk about that seem a little bit scary. So your throat chakra clenches up, but it's not really your throat chakra. It's actually your solar plexus, which is connected on the same axis as the throat, and the root. It's actually these lower chakras. Our throat is not where we speak our truth. I mean, it's where we speak, but if our solar plexus, our personal power, isn't activated, we're never going to speak our truth. If our root, if our base from our family, if that's our survival and our sense of self in this physical world is not activated, solar plexus can't be activated, feel powerful, can't speak our truth, right? So that's why this is designed the way it is, because these energy centers work together. So I'm not going to go through all of them and how they work together because I could spend another hour doing that, but I might sometime. This is just to give you a template to begin to work with and play with. This is all play. All we're doing is playing, right? We're just playing with each other and playing with energy. We're seeing what we can create and recreate because that's what we do. So if nobody gives us like permission that there's another way to play other than the way you've been taught, we don't even know it exists. I'm just offering you another avenue to go play in. Okay? That feel good?
For sure.
Thank you. It's a big thing to speak about these things that I promise you nobody else is talking about this. You all have stuff you're thinking about and talking about and writing about that you want to share. So I hope that you will take me going out on a limb to share with you and let that inspire you to speak out and share whatever it is you have, whatever jewels, whatever diamonds and gold you have for the rest of us, because you have stuff for the rest of us, whatever that is, I hope you'll set that free. I hope that you'll be brave enough to do that. And really not have any fucks to give about who's on board and who's not. And just do it because it's fun to speak and it's fun to create and it's fun to talk. We all get our own truth. We all get that. Okay, we all get the right to express ourselves. So it's my hope that this will inspire you for whatever's waiting to be birthed inside of you to allow that to come forward in some way. Okay, so doing this meditation. In a few minutes, prepare you a little bit for what we're going to do. We're going to go into a little bit of an informal meditation, and I'll call forward Metatron. And you will likely feel his very beautiful, benevolent presence coming forward into your field. If for some reason you don't, he's there, I promise. Okay? Be good receivers. Just activate that high heart energy of being willing to receive without an expectation of what it's supposed to feel like or what it's supposed to be like. And just allow yourself to be in a beautiful space of receiving this activation. I will ask you at some point during the meditation, do you accept Metatron's cube? and you will just speak out your yes, because I really feel that it has to be an agreement between you and me and Metatron, and not just something Ameera is doing. Okay, you guys get to use your throat, your solar plexus, and say, yes, I agree to this, or not. If you don't, you don't. He will really gently insert his geometry down into your field. And I'll just kind of talk you through that and let you feel through that. When we bring Metatron's cube into our energy field, it does several things for us. Metatron's cube is kind of like a bulletproof vest, like a bulletproof aura vest, I guess. It shields you from negativity, even that which you bring upon yourself. It gives you a multi-dimensional, you become a multi-dimensional active receptivity. So active and receptivity are not paradoxical. They're equal and opposite energies that work together. So you become both receptive and active as a conduit for spirit, as a channel for spirit, for yourself and others. Okay, it will open up a shield and protect your auric field. You kind of feel like you have that extra like protection in there. It's in there permanently, but you should or could, if you want to meditate, now and again on it and work with Metatron. And just, it's kind of like, for those of you who've done Reiki, who know Reiki, the symbols are in forever, but the more you work with them and envision them, the stronger they get, right? It's the same thing with the symbol of Metatron's cube. The more you work with it, the more amplified it's going to become in your field. So it's as simple as that. Remember that the 13 spheres are going to also represent many things. They're going to also represent your ability to access your energy, your chakras multidimensionally. And you'll have fun just playing with that. And someday I might do kind of like an intermediate sacred geometry kind of course thing, and we'll go a little bit deeper into that. But for now, I think this is enough. Okay. Is everybody ready? Okay. Thank you all for trusting me and for allowing me to talk you through this. So just from wherever you're at, just close your eyes and go into the space and just gently slide into the space and focus on your breath, remembering that the in-breath and the out-breath are keys to grounding and centering into your physical body. And just allow your inhales and your exhales just to call back. I want you to call back your energy from wherever it's been today, wherever it's been as we've talked through this course, wherever it's been with your pets or your family or your environment. And just with your breath and intention, just call your energy completely back to this moment, back to your bodies. And I would like you to really feel grounded and present, really feel your physical body. And maybe even go down to your Earth Star Chakra if you like. And breathe into your Earth Star Chakra. And if this is a new experience for you, just noticing beautiful ball of light beneath your feet. Feeling it through the soles of your feet and a little bit of that magnetism that comes up from the Earth Star Chakra into your feet and legs, that little pull of gravity that just let you know you are tapping into your Earth Star, into grounding. And just notice the color and the shape and the size of your Earth Star and feel how good it feels. You're really connected to yourself, to your Earth Star Chakra. I used to teach people to ground into the earth, and I don't do that anymore. for multiple reasons, mainly because we are now called as masters to tap into ourselves, into our own field, into the cosmos for grounding and centering. So as you have your intention on your Earth Star chakra, you can begin to run that energy up from the soles of your feet and your legs and knees, and just move that grounding up through your lower chakras, your root and sacral, your solar plexus, and just connect it to your heart. And just feel that beautiful line of grounding from your heart down to your Earth Star, and feel how good it feels. This is true grounding. When we are grounded into ourselves, we start to embody self-responsibility, self-awareness, and sovereignty. When we tune into our heart and our Earth Star and really bring presence to our physical body, we start to have that feeling or develop that feeling of sovereignty through self-awareness. Just breathing into your heart center, opening, expanding the heart, and feeling how good that feels. All of us connecting to ourselves, connecting to one another through the heart torus, through the geometry of the heart. And then just continuing that line of energy up through the high heart and the throat, up into the third eye, just touching on your soul star behind your head, the light star above your head, your infinite gateway, all 13 chakras, and we'll come back to the sacred soul in a minute, all of them being activated, all of them being open and sending that line of energy all the way up to the cosmos, all the way up to the great central sun, or wherever you like to go, up into the very highest heavens, up to where you feel that cosmic connection coming up through your body and entering into nirvana, entering into the great cosmos. And just giving our sacred yes to being prepared body, mind, and spirit for Metatron's activation. And so now I'm going to ask Archangel Metatron to begin to come forward, descend down around us and over us, and to bring down his geometry, to bring down Metatron's cube. And as he descends down with his presence and his geometry, and brings his geometry closer to the crown of your head, there will be a pause just before he enters your energy field. And I'll give you that pause, that moment, just to connect with him in your own way, just to make that acquaintance. And Metatron is asking, do you now accept Metatron's cube? And with your sacred yes, he begins to lower that first sphere at the bottom of Metatron's cube down through your energy field, down into the crown of your head. And you may be feeling a little bit of pressure or tingling on the crown of your head as his geometry just gently slides down your auric field, down your energy field, down your physical body, down your energy centers 360 degrees front to back, side to side, top to bottom, completely down into your aura. And you will feel the center point of Metatron's cube kind of like match up, click into place right at your sacred soul chakra. So you will feel Metatron's cube all around you, come through that center sphere, matching up right exactly with your sacred soul. Perfect match, perfect alignment. And if you need to take a nice deep breath and breathe that in, feel free to do so. Maybe a couple of deep breaths. Just to integrate. You can just feel how good it feels to have Metatron's cube vibrating within your field. When I see it, for me, it comes in all different colors of rainbow spectrum and gold. It's how it comes in for me. Just notice the colors. Notice the sensations on your skin. Notice sensations in your body. Notice the sensations above your head or below your feet. Notice how it feels side to side and front to back. Place your attention on the back side of your energy field. And just feel into what it's like to host this geometry completely around you, 365 degrees. 65. So we are now activating our multi-dimensional energy centers that surround and support us within and without us, above, below. And I'm just going to give you a minute of silence just to notice and feel into what's going on in your energy field, how it feels and how it looks, and any messages Metatron might have for you. If you like, you can ask Metatron to clear out any disturbances or distortions in your energy field. You can ask him to release any attachments or energetic imprints that are not there for your highest good. You can ask him to work on any illnesses or diseases in your body. You can ask him to help you alleviate any pain. He will heal and seal up your aura and shine a light so bright within your field that the only thing that is able to exist there is the purity of love. There are a lot of dolphins that have entered this space with us. If any of you would like to accept a dolphin into your field as a totem or as a guide, there is at least one available for all of you. All you have to do is say yes. I'm told that that's a gift from Yemaya and my people, the Mer people. And then I'm also going to heal and seal up this transition with the light of the golden ray. So when you are ready with no rush, you can allow your breath to bring you back more fully present into the space. And just without rushing, just open your eyes, come back into the space when you're ready. How's everybody doing? Tammy's got a stalker.
There's Savannah. She's home. When you said everybody has a dolphin, I was like, yep.
I knew it. I knew it. She knew the dolphins were here.
She did.
How'd you guys do?
It felt awesome.
That's cool.
Mhm.
There's how dolphins dancing.
We saw dolphins dancing. She was doing it too.
Of course she did. Of course.
There's those unicorns dancing on dolphins. I go right with you now. Wait, no, that's this way. Alan. Hi.
Thanks for letting me take you way over time.
You're welcome.
If any of you have anything you want to share or tell me tomorrow or whatever, anything to share, any questions, you guys know I'm always available to you. Always happy to have feedback and to know how I can support you. Anybody have anything fun to share or say about the meditation?
I felt it like heavy and
Yeah.
then smooth and warm.
Yeah.
It was like going into warm water.
Yeah.
I have a
Right.
question.
Well, and water would be right because I totally had, the water thing is exactly what was happening.
I felt like I was floating.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I definitely felt the warm too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Me too.
And at first I felt like energy more like swirling around a lot. And then I felt like I sort of like settled into like so much.
Yeah.
And then when you talked about the dolphin, like I instantly felt that energy around me and like just felt so like playful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, good.
Mm.
Zoom is so cool. Backgrounds there. That's what I probably should have put up for the meditation.
How did you do that?
There's a setting on Zoom where you can pick a virtual background. I have a green screen behind me.
That's super
Like a
cool.
literal green screen. So I can pull up images and project them back behind me for a really cool effect.
That is amazing.
I know, isn't that neat? I was going to change that a couple times while we talked, but I forgot. So there you go. That's my favorite version of Metatron's cube, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Well, mahalo nui, everybody. You're probably all asleep like teenagers on summer vacation today.
I said our dreams are going to be lit tonight.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be too
Yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ameera. It was great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I'll have this recording done in a couple days, and I'll send you guys the YouTube version, and then I'm going to also put it up for purchase. So if you know anybody who might like to pick it up, tell them how cool it was and send them my way.
Awesome.
Will do. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Good night. I know it's late for lots of you.
Okay.
Night.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Good night.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Mhm.